Hello, everyone. This is Juggernaut Hottakes, and we are here with a special guest today, DC. Very, very happy to have you on here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time. I've been a fan of the podcast, and so I'm really excited to share my hot takes and be a part of this great group.
All right, so we're gonna start off this segment. It's been 10 months since our last one. We're not gonna cover all 10 months.
Oh yeah.
We're just gonna start off with an around the NBA, starting with standings and who. It's almost playoff time. It's coming close. So we're just gonna talk about contenders, pretenders, who we think can make it far, who we think's fake. So anyone have any opinions on that?
Sure. Celtics. Hear me now. The Celtics are not going to win the NBA Finals. They are good. I hate to say it, but they are a good team. But they are not an NBA Finals team. I don't see it. They are not as rounded as I feel they need to be. And so, yeah, I'm thinking the Celtics are going to get bounced. And whether it's in the finals, the first round, second round, conference finals, they are going to get bounced. They are not winning an NBA title.
I think the main issue with the Celtics is their bench. Their starters average 96 points a game. That's the most in the NBA by over 5 points. Their bench is lacking. I don't know how Missoula... I've been talking about Missoula. I'm not the biggest Missoula fan. But I don't know how he's going to deal with it come playoff time, what his rotation's going to be. It's been 7 to 8 men the entire season. But the last 2 games we've lost. We beat the Warriors by 50, but we lost the last 2. I know, Shane, you don't like that.
No, I don't.
But we lost the last 2. One against the Nuggets, which is very important. They're also contending, and we showed we couldn't beat a team of that high seed. And even though that's not how we've looked the whole season, we need to figure out our bench scenario, or you will be unfortunately right.
I'm gonna bring in another team into this. I honestly think the Indiana Pacers are a contender, despite their low seeding, because
That's a good one.
Tyrese Halliburton, of course, is known to be a connector. He's put up 12 assists a game this year. And with the people that they have, especially with the dude of Pascal Siakam's caliber, he's a good player. He's been a champion before, so having that hit there gives him a little bit of championship experience. And then Miles Turner's a solid big. His morale's back up compared to what it was in years past in Indiana. So I have fun with the energy that Halliburton brings. Him as a person, very good guy, and just him on the court connects people. I think the Pacers are a great team to see and to make a deep run in the playoffs.
I'd never thought of that before, but now that you say it, you talk about how good Halliburton is. Lego Man Miles Turner has been balling out recently. So, yeah, no, I've never thought of the Pacers as a contender, but now that I think about how the team's come together, especially with Siakam now, they're a team, because, I mean, a lot of the playoffs is just getting hot at the right time. And I think they're a team that can really catch fire down the stretch and make a deep run this year.
I agree with that, but do you guys think they can take the Bills or the Hawks when it comes... The Bulls, not the Bills, the fuck. The Bulls or the Hawks when it comes to the play-in?
Yeah, I think the Hawks are just so back and forth, so hot and cold that I don't trust them when the lights are brightest. Obviously, Trae Young's a great player, and that team has some potential, but I don't see it. I don't see the Hawks being able to beat a team that is as well-rounded as the Pacers are at this time. And then same with the Bulls. I just don't see it. I don't see the Bulls reaching that level. As you said, Shane, Halliburton is showing that he's a high-caliber player. Siakam's been a known high-caliber player in the league, and so I don't think they can do much with those two teams.
The seedings aren't set in stone, though, and I have to bring up the 76ers with UDC. If it comes to the play-in and the 76ers are facing the Pacers, who do you think's coming out on top?
My true heart says the Sixers. I love the Sixers. They are a great team. But everything else in this world that actually matters says that the Sixers are not going to win. They've just been so inconsistent. Not even inconsistent. They've been bad without Embiid. It's not like they're we're okay. They are bad. They are not a good basketball team. If you watch them play, it looks like they're trying to figure out like how to rework the game itself, and I have no confidence in people like Buddy Hield and Tobias Harris to lead us. Like, I'm sorry, but they might like be decent players in their own right, but when you put them as the head of a team, like Maxey's a great player. I love Tyrese Maxey. But the rest of the team is just so mid to bad that I don't see them beating anyone in the playoffs. I think they're gonna be lucky if they don't go in the play-in, and they're gonna get beat in 5 or 6 games. Yeah, they're a dead team right now.
I don't know if I saw this correctly, but I think it said Embiid might come back before the playoffs. Even if he does come back, like with the Pacers and Halliburton, even though they've played with Embiid, it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of integrate back into the chemistry that they've had. They're not a team like the Hawks where their chemistry is just all over the place all the time. But with the Sixers, Maxey's a guy that you know what you're going to get out of him in the regular season, like 25, 30 points. But we haven't seen him in the playoffs, and there we get to see. I'm really excited for this. What type of player he's probably going to grow and become.
I'm a big fan of Kentucky guards league-wide, so I have a big belief in Maxey, especially for his future. But this year in particular, even if Embiid comes back, I just don't see the Sixers being able to turn it around from where they are right now, because it is mayhem in Philadelphia, and it's not fun basketball to watch.
If we go into the West is pretty contested. Seeds can definitely change till the end of the year because of how contested it is. It's actually, 8 games between the 1 and the 8 seed? It's close to that. Is there anyone in the lower standings in the West that you think could either heat up to become a better seed or be like the Timberwolves, the Thunder, one of those teams?
I mean, I think the obvious dark horse in this whole conversation is the GOAT LeBron James. I mean, as much as you laugh, all right, but hear me out. He's the best basketball player to ever grace this planet, and
I'm gonna stop you if you keep on.
We
get it.
You can't count out LeBron James.
All right.
Even and Anthony Davis on the same team. Like, I know the Lakers have been inconsistent all season. They've shown times where they look like they're one of the better teams in the league, and times where they look like they shouldn't even be in the plan. But I think with LeBron's leadership, his playoff experience, and Anthony Davis's ability, as well as supporting cast like Austin Reeves, I think they are really a dark horse team that can shake some things up in the West. I see them. They could definitely upset a young Thunder team with their experience. I can see Karl Anthony Towns shying away in the big moment for the Timberwolves. I think their main problem is definitely the Nuggets. The Nuggets are the team I'm most scared for a team like the Lakers to play. But I think with the West this close, no one should count out the Lakers.
In the past, 2 years ago, I'm a Warriors fan. I'm not going to lie. I did not think they were going to win in 2022. I just didn't see it happening. And a bunch of analysts would have agreed with me. This year, I'm probably going to take the same approach. I don't really have as much confidence in the Warriors as I would do in a team like the Lakers, just because LeBron is just so consistent. Anthony Davis, same thing. When he's healthy, they are really a force to be reckoned with. They have that second superstar, and having that really helps. The Warriors do have Chris Paul. I'm not going to lie, I think they're going to get cursed. But Curry is obviously a great player. He is dwindling down a little bit, but again, unless you're LeBron James, you're more likely than not going to be like this for up until you're 40. Klay Thompson is a guy that was really reliable before that Achilles tear, but again, injuries can really change a person. Klay Thompson is I can't really trust him as much as I used to. Same thing with Wiggins, especially at the beginning of the year. Jesus. Draymond Green just needs to stay on the damn court. And then Kevin Looney, he's a big dog, but he is not eating out there. I am telling you that right now. Against teams like the Nuggets and the Lakers, if AD starts at center, and definitely the Timberwolves, he's probably going to get eaten alive.
What about the Kung Bucket, Jonathan Kuminga?
Oh, I completely forgot about him. Jonathan Kuminga's been so good. I completely forgot about him. Kuminga has been really good, but again, the lights are at their brightest.
They just don't have enough.
They don't have enough. And I also completely talk about Pods and Moody. They've been developing pretty nicely too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those three and Steph, and I mean, Chris Paul's cursed. He's a great player, but I think he's going to curse us. But they got a great foundation for the future, but again, I don't see them winning this year.
Quick sidebar here. What do we think is, like, if we're, like, looking at white NBA players, is Pods on the come up right now? Or do we think, like, he could be a future white face of the league?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can develop into a role player. I'm not saying he can't, but face of the league is a big stretch.
Yeah, I'd say face of the league is a pretty big jump. I'd say that he's done a really good job being a good role player. He's very good all around. I didn't even know this, but he's averaging 5 rebounds a game as a young guard in the league. It's a very good sign. I feel like he could develop a little bit of Josh Hart's tendencies. A nice solid role player that can do a little bit of everything and do stuff that some big men do, including rebound and play good defense in the paint. But I have a feeling that Pod still has a bright future, even though I still don't think he has that ceiling.
Speaking of bright futures and players we didn't, I think, have high enough ceilings, we kind of have to talk about the Knicks and Jalen Brunson, who have really just surprised a lot of people this year with their ability on the court. I was watching them last week against the Cavs, and they look like a really, really solid basketball team with Brunson and the Villanova trio of him, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo up there. I was a big fan of Brunson in college. I'm a Villanova guy, and so seeing them develop in the league is awesome to watch. And I think Brunson has really shocked a lot of people with his ability as a guard, and he has really brought himself up a whole tier this year into like a different conversation of players, and he's putting on for the city of New York and for the Knicks, which is a franchise who have for most of our lives been pretty abysmal. And so I think it's good to see that the Knicks are relevant again and that people are interested in talking about some of those big market teams like New York.
And if you look at like what people were saying, what broadcasters and everyone was saying at the start of the year, they thought he was overpaid. They thought he would put up 18, 19. He's putting up around 25. He's proven them wrong. And he's showing what he did in the playoffs wasn't a fluke, as many people believed. So he's just elevating that Knicks team, which could honestly, at the middle of the bracket, they could beat one of the Heat teams. They could beat the Magic. They could make it into the second or third round, I honestly believe.
And I think a lot of it's about leadership too. Like, some of those teams, like a lot of these teams are really good, like the Timberwolves, and I'll focus more on teams like the Pelicans and things like that, where they're full of good players, but they don't have someone who stands out. Where I feel like Brunson is someone who I trust to take the final shot, who I trust to make the smart play in the heat of battle. Whereas some other teams don't have players where I'm really like, oh, I think they'll make the right decision 100% of the time. Where I feel like I have a ton of confidence in Brunson's ability to make the right play to help the Knicks win.
And if we're talking about teams that could upset, I don't think this team could really make a big run. But for upsets go, I wouldn't put it past the Mavs to upset a team. As you talked about experience, Timberwolves, the Thunder, those two teams aren't really experienced. And with Luka, anything can happen with him. So he could go off for a round and just average 40. I wouldn't put past him. And I don't really think they're going to make a big run. I don't think their team's just deep enough and good enough all around. But they could easily upset a team like the Timberwolves or the Thunder. And I would not be surprised.
Honestly, I have a hot take, kind of like the Pacers. I feel like the Mavs could be a contender.
You do?
Because it's just a matter of, can Kyrie actually stay on the court? And when Luke and Kyrie play together, they actually integrate pretty well.
That's true.
You know, they're still average. Luka's still getting his. Kyrie's still getting his. Tim Hardaway is a guy you can probably rely on to get 15 points. Mm-hmm. Actually, he did screw me over a little bit on Underdog, but we don't talk about that. They got their off-season. not their off season. Their before the trade deadline, getting PJ Washington, that was massive because he's another solid guy you can rely on. Derek Lively is a young big that I feel can develop. Not into a face of the league, but someone around Daniel Gafford's caliber, who's also on that team. That was someone I completely forgot. Him and Gafford are very, very, very solid. I was about to say Daniel Gafford because one of my friends is named. That's his fantasy team.
Nice. Anyways,
I don't agree with that take. I don't see the Mavs like moving that far in the playoffs. Like you said, it matters a lot if Kyrie's going to stay on the floor, and I just can't put that trust in Kyrie Irving after these last few seasons.
I agree with that.
I like the Mavs as a team. I think they have a lot of potential. I think Luka is one of the, if not the best player in the league right now. He's really showing that, he's the man. But I don't know if this team is suited for really good playoff basketball. Also, just to mention, RIP to Ben Simmons. He was a longtime favorite of mine.
He was?
As a Sixer fan, as a believer in the process, I thought that Ben Simmons living up to his full potential would send us into the future, and I was wrong. And so I want to publicly apologize for my years of Ben Simmons fandom.
He sucks. He's not likable either. I'm sorry. It's like defending Alex.
I remember the day I unfollowed him on IG, and it was a sad day when he left Philadelphia. So,
all right, we've been talking about this debate a little bit off camera. I'm gonna bring up Tim Duncan. DC was getting really heated about this. I said if Ray Allen didn't hit that shot, if Tim Duncan was 6-0 in the finals, he would be the fourth greatest player of all time, behind Kareem at 3, and either Jordan or LeBron. I'm not gonna get into it at 2 or 1, and I just want to bring that up.
I vehemently disagree with this opinion. I am so against this opinion. I am irate that this is even a conversation. Let me explain to you the kind of person that Tim Duncan is. Tim Duncan pretends that the NBA is a 9 to 5, and he goes home.
So is Jokic.
He goes home to his couch every day, waits for his wife to finish making him dinner, goes to the dinner table, sits there, eats quietly, and gets ready for bed. That's who Tim Duncan is. If you look at anyone, I'd say in the top 20 of all-time NBA players, there is something about them that people are like, wow, that is interesting, or wow, they do that so well, or wow, that is cool. No one has ever complimented a player on their ability to be good at fundamentals. Unless we're talking about like 3rd grade Joe Frisco basketball, where the coach is like, wow, you're so talented at dribbling. Tim Duncan is like basic. He is the plain white t-shirt that costs $500, you know? And I don't think, even if he's 6-0 in the finals, give him 2 more MVPs, I still think he's boring. He's Tim Duncan. And I think a lot of what we look at in NBA players is what makes them great. Like, why do we think they're great? How is Jordan iconic? How are people like Kareem, Magic, Bird, Shaq, Kobe, how are they iconic? Tim Duncan is not iconic. Tim Duncan is simply good at basketball. And I like Tim Duncan. I think he's a great player. He was a great player. He's a great person. But I just don't think that someone that's not iconic can really be a top 4 player all time. Like, if we're putting like a FIFA card on him, he's a hero. You know, like I don't see like icon status for him because he was there in the big moments, but like I don't know what moments are a backboard layup.
Should I bring up stats? He has 15-time All-NBA, 15-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 5-time champ. In this scenario, let's say 6. 5-time champ, 15-time All-Defense, and Rookie of the Year. And you're saying there's no shot he can be, in this scenario, 4 or in general, top 5 player of all time.
No, he's simply Tim Duncan. and there's nothing that's going to stop him from being that. It's not like something wrong with him. It's just the fact of the matter is he's Tim Duncan. And if he had a more interesting game, or maybe a flashier, if he had like a true talent that everyone looked after, rather than just being good at stuff, I think he would be higher. But I think when you look at the history of the league, like, you can't put him that high based on what we've seen other players do.
But it's not most skilled, it's greatest players of all time. It's not, if we're doing most skilled, Kyrie's up there. Kyrie's not a top 10 greatest player of all time. So what takes away Tim Duncan being fundamentally good? How does that take away from him being top 5 of all time?
I think it's because there wasn't like a realization of his skill. Like, people understood he was a good basketball player, but if you were watching the Spurs, you weren't like, wow, I can't believe Tim Duncan just did that. Like, there's not a lot of wow Tim Duncan moments. There's a lot of, oh, that's decent, that's interesting. Like, sure, he scored there, made the right play there, but I don't see what we look for in our great athletes in Tim Duncan. I think we expect way more out of the top 4 in any other sport, and I don't think someone like Tim Duncan could be considered top 4 all time simply through accolades. I think it's a lot of it is the eye test, and Tim Duncan unfortunately doesn't pass there.
Shane, you have any input?
So, looking up at Tim Duncan's stats, I will say, when it comes to being the most boring player of all time, Tim Duncan would be the GOAT. Undoubtedly, he would be the GOAT. When you look at the fridge and say, what do I want to eat? You're probably going to find some fat-free applesauce in there in the back. But, in terms of his ideology, well, how good he is at basketball, oh yeah, it's pretty damn good. And then I just looked at his stats a minute ago. As his minutes went down, of course his stats went down, but the efficiency at which he was putting up these stats was really good. But then again, when you look at those accolades, when you look at the 5 championships, or 6 championships now, you want to question, what were his teammates like? He had future Hall of Famers Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, future Hall of Famer Kawhi Leonard, future Hall of Famer David Robinson, one of the best bigs of all time. Jordan had some great teammates, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, some of the best players to ever do it. But those 6 championships, Tim Duncan showed up when it mattered most, but at the same time, he did have a lot of people there to support him. And then you even look at guys like Bruce Bowen, who didn't put up great stats, beast on the defensive end. Matt Bonner, Red Rocket. I don't think he did great, but I love the nickname. Marco Bellinelli, another solid guy. That was later on. The Spurs were just an all-around deep team. But the thing is, without Tim Duncan, I don't really know what a great word for glue would be. Well, if you're looking for something to, if you're looking for a method to keep things together, you got the good old hammer and nail, you got duct tape or Gorilla Tape, you got Flex Seal, and then you have a stronger version of Elmer's glue, which is Tim Duncan. There's nothing fun about Elmer's glue.
You just mentioned Gorilla Glue. That's the same thing.
Elmer's glue and Gorilla Glue, aren't they 2 different things?
Yeah. Well, they are 2 different things, but like...
I'm talking about the brand.
Alright.
It's like if you're comparing Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan.
Alright.
Kevin Garnett would be Gorilla Glue. And I promise I'm not trying to be racist. He would be Gorilla Glue. And then Tim Duncan would be Elmer's glue. But I would say...
And Brian Scalabrine would be good glue. The kind of glue you want to bring home to your parents.
He's got the fundamentals. Except that's Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So, I think as much as I don't want to say it, it doesn't sit right with me. But if I'm being honest with myself, those 15 all-defense appearances, they don't do themselves. 15 all-star appearances, yeah, it's the fans. But Tim Duncan was just so consistent in the production per 36. It doesn't sit right with me, but I just say there's not really anyone I could really see going over him in terms of talent. If I wanted to, I would put Shaq over him. I would put Bill Russell over him simply just because he had 11 rings. But with Tim Duncan, as much as I don't want to say this, I think he would probably be the 4th best all time when you look at stats. You look at his legacy. It's not much you can really say against him. I don't hate Tim Duncan at all. sport like basketball, there's just so many icons, so many people that have influenced the game. It's kind of hard to put someone like Tim Duncan, who perfected that 15.5-foot bank shot, where he's fading away, he's going like this, probably over Marcus Camby or Chris Anderson. But yeah, I think that Tim Duncan is probably the fourth best player if Ray Allen didn't hit that shot. And again, doesn't sit well with me. I don't want to accept it, but it's not really much I can say.
And kind of to Shane's point, I think with the numbers, like, number-wise, probably is the fourth best player. But in the mind of the fans, like, it's Tim Duncan. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, in the fans' mind, he doesn't deserve that kind of cachet in the NBA. Like, everyone, like, globally, Shaq is famous, whereas Tim Duncan is kind of a lesser-known player, and I don't think he's going to get that credit, even though he may deserve it.
All right, sticking in the basketball realm, we're going to talk about March Madness for a bit, and then maybe we might get to spring training, MLB, if we have time. This already has been around like 30 minutes, 40 minutes-ish. I'm eyeballing, I don't have the time. But, so, for March Madness, is there anything you guys want to say?
This is what's cool about March Madness, is it's one of those tournaments where, like I said earlier, like a lot about the NBA playoffs getting hot at the right time. March Madness is not long. It's really about being hot and winning those games. Mm-hmm. And if you can go on a small little run there, it can be massive in terms of who you are as a team and what people think of you. Like we saw with San Diego State last year, who just got hot at the right time. I've been looking at the rankings recently. I've seen Houston, the new number one. I don't fully trust it. I've seen Houston play a few times, and they're a little up and down. I don't think they're as consistent as a team like a UConn. And, I just don't. I think it's a lot of March Madness is about being hot at the right time, and I think the teams that we're going to be looking at are teams like UConn, or maybe a little sleeper here like Gonzaga, who's been there before and who understands what it takes to win. I think there's a lot of good teams out there this year. Kentucky's looked really good with Rob Dillingham, and there's a ton of talent across the board, across the conferences. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year, a really interesting March.
I've said this before, but a team that I don't think is going to get hot at the right time, I think they're pretenders, is Purdue. They were last year. They were first-round exits, and I think they might be first or second-round exits this year. And I think it's going to be the same result. They're relying on Zach Edey. He's a 7'3" guy with no talent. He's a 7'3" guy. You hate me saying that. He's a 7'3" guy that, even though he's 7'3", that's a big advantage in college sports, especially. But he's so mediocre at everything else. He's not even in the draft. He's not even projected top 50. He might be a late second round guy that people take because he's tall. But up until last month, he was undrafted. He was projected to be a nobody. And that's what I think is going to happen. You double him, there's nothing he can do. He's not good enough at passing. He doesn't have the IQ. All he is he's big. And even though for some guys that might work, but I think it's going to be the same exact result as last year. And it's going to catch up to him. And Purdue is going to be a first-round exit.
I see where you're coming from, but I don't think you can call the back-to-back best player in college basketball. I don't think you can say they're talentless. I think I partially agree with you. I don't think Zach Edey is by any means the most talented player in college basketball. He does rely a lot on his height, and his all-around skills aren't amazing. But you do have to respect the fact that he has won Player of the Year back-to-back years, and has shown that he can really do it at that level. Purdue is right back where they were last year. Although they're in a weak conference, the Big Ten, I still think they've proven that they're a legit team. They've earned the spot. They've earned their title as the top of the Big Ten, and I think they're going to be a team that people are going to have to look out for. Like I said, March is all about getting hot, and if they can string together some good wins, I think it's going to be hard for teams to be planning for Edie the whole time and then have to deal with other players on that team. So if other players on Purdue can step up in big moments, I think it will be huge, and I think Purdue really does have a shot. I don't think that Edie's inability to be a well-rounded player is going to diminish their ability to go far in this March.
I feel that I definitely feel that Zach Edey, even though he got knocked out in the first round, it was evident that he could play well at a high level. I think he put up good stats in both the years he got knocked out. But it's just a matter of, does Purdue have that supporting cast if they can make a run? And this is kind of going into the team that I think has a really good shot at winning this year. Coincidentally, this just happens to be a team that I watched a couple times, but North Carolina is a team that I seem to really like. Mainly because they have a lot of depth in terms of, they have a lot of depth on defense. They're not a team that plays too fast. They're not a team that plays too slow. You know what you're going to get out of them in terms of pace. And on defense, again, like DC brought up Houston earlier, they're a team that's very, very aggressive on defense. They press a lot. They run a lot of half-court traps. Houston, if they get cold on, not even cold on defense at the wrong time, they get tired at the wrong time. They're still out there pressing people. Could be the difference between them moving on and them getting eliminated. But with a team like North Carolina, one real concern I have is, can they hit their three-pointers? If they can hit those three-pointers consistently, then I think they have a good case at maybe winning the entire thing.
I think we also have to talk about Armando Bacot and his face. Because I don't like it. I don't like Armando Bacot's face. And that's why I root against UNC. Just because something about Armando Bacot that rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, I think, although I do think that after watching North Carolina, they're a team that also has that potential. They're really smart, well-coached team. I think they're more consistent than Duke. I think Duke fluctuates so much just because of the fact that it's Duke. They have such stars on the team. I remember after Filipowski basically died at Wake Forest and then came back. So I think there's a lot less drama around UNC. I think their mindset going into the tournament is like, we're just going to do our thing and see how far we can go. And that's a really good mindset to have, whereas a lot of other teams are looking at their conference titles, trying to get those regular season championships, whereas I think UNC is really dead set focused on going deep in March, and that's more important. I think that goal and that focus is super important to being a good team. I think that's something that UNC has shown over the course of the season.
I agree with you. I'm a bit biased. The first March Madness I watched in 2016-17, they won, and I've been a UNC fan since with Justin Jackson, who I thought was going to be really good. I looked up his stats when I was like 12, and I really thought he was next up, but that didn't happen. But I do agree with both your points with the three-point shooting and the mentality. UNC's been there before, and they're almost always there. They're always Elite Eight, and they just have what it takes, and they have experience, and I really think they can make a deep run in this one.
I think you gotta look at other teams as well, like Baylor, who's proven to be a blue blood program as of recently. A couple years back to back, they've been rolling and finding some good results in March Madness, including a national title. And so I don't think you can count on a team that has had that kind of experience and a team that's proven that their program is really made the jump to the next step. I think them, as well as teams like Texas Tech, can really do big things this March.
You guys want to talk about spring training in the MLB, or?
Oh wait, can I just bring up one more thing? I feel like we cannot ignore this man, Xavier Lee of Princeton.
Oh yes.
I absolutely love him. The thing is, I don't have high expectations for Princeton just because, Ivy League is not a top 5 league. And I'm not going to say far from it for Power 5, but you're not competing against, when you're looking at the ACC, you're not going up against Duke, Wake Forest, and North Carolina. They're all in the same state. They're all consistent basketball programs, maybe less so Wake Forest. But I really want to see Xavier Lee hit those types of shots that I was seeing on Instagram against Harvard.
Yeah, I also do. There's a lot of especially with social media now. You can watch more players than ever, and so seeing people like Xavier and Lee get that respect that they deserve for what they've done in their respective conferences for their teams is really important. And I'm excited to see how him and the Ivy Leagues do, or Princeton do against real hefty competition this upcoming March Madness.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to say?
Oh, wait, I don't know what grade Xavier Lee was in, but I remember Princeton ended up pulling an upset against Arizona last year.
Yes. Princeton, he was a freshman last year. I think this is his sophomore year. And he's really taken that jump and led this team to a very good record. I believe 22-3.
Yeah.
So he's really shown that they can be an excellent team in the future. And that Ivy League teams are no joke, and you can't really mess with them. He's putting that conference on the map right now and proving that he's not just one of the best players in the Ivy League, but one of the better guards that we've seen in the country.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, I think I got an idea for our next podcast episode.
Alright.
Or a topic. You want me just to say it now?
Sure, we can preview.
Should we talk about comparing Xavier Lee and Jeremy Lin next time?
Ooh.
That's Harvard, Princeton. I like that. I do like that.
A little Ivy League connection there.
You want to talk about spring training, or do you guys want to leave it off with just an all basketball podcast?
I'm fine for basketball.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, it's Mark Brunel.
Shane Stangolini.
Featuring
DC Brown.
Hopefully that recorded all the way.